The morning sun had barely crested the horizon when Ethan Caldwell jolted awake to the sound of chirping birds and a voice blaring through a megaphone. "Good morning, explorers. Welcome to Serenity Hollow Trail. Stay close and soak in the peace." He rubbed his eyes, stumbled out of bed, and peered through the smudged window of his century-old farmhouse. Beyond the weathered barn, a group of strangers in garish orange vests tramped through his woods, their laughter echoing off the trees. A woman with a toddler strapped to her back waved a reusable water bottle like a flag of conquest, while another figured a man with a man bun and a walking stick pointed at Ethan's Oak Grove as if delivering a lecture. Leading them was a woman in a teal tracksuit, megaphone in one hand, clipboard in the other, her blonde ponytail bouncing with every purposeful step. Ethan hadn't even brewed his coffee, and already his land's sanctuary was hosting an uninvited parade. This wasn't just any land. Ethan's great-grandfather, a wiry veteran of the First World War, had bought these 200 acres with his discharge pay in 1919. It stretched from the gurgling Hollow Creek at the base of the valley to the jagged spine of Pine Ridge up top. Every deer trail, every mossy boulder, every hidden patch of morelsit was Caldwell land, etched into the family's bones through generations of sweat and stewardship. Ethan had spent his life keeping it wild and quiet, a refuge from the clamor of the world. But now, thanks to his new neighbor, Miranda Voss, that peace was unraveling faster than a cheap sweater. Miranda had moved in 6 months ago, buying the fixer-upper next door with a gleam in her eye and a Prius plastered with coexist bumper stickers. Ethan first met her when he was mending a fence near the property line. A yapping terrier in a sequined vest darted past him, chasing a squirrel into the underbrush. Ethan followed the dog and found Miranda sprawled on a tie-dye blanket, mid-sun salutation, her earbuds blasting something that sounded like whale songs. She didn't flinch when he approached, just popped out an earbud and said, "Oh, you must be the guy next door. This forest is incredible. You should open it up. It's too beautiful to hoard." Ethan blinked, unsure if she was serious. "It's private land," he'd said, voice flat. She'd smiled, all teeth and no sincerity, and replied, "Nature doesn't care about deeds." That was the warning shot. Over the next few weeks, Ethan started finding traces of her presence. A bamboo straw wrapper tangled in a bush, a yoga mat abandoned by the creek, a hand-painted rock with the word "breathe" in cursive. Then came the trail cam incident. He'd set up the cameras years ago to track deer patterns, but one morning he found the lens pointed at a tree trunk, smeared with what smelled suspiciously like lavender oil. Someone had been messing with his gear, and he had a hunch who. He tried diplomacy first. One crisp October afternoon, he caught Miranda leading a small group 5 or 6 people in hemp hoodies across his meadow. "Hey," he called, keeping his tone even, "this is private property. You might want to stick to the county park down the road." She turned, megaphone dangling from her wrist, and Lafitte high, tinkling sound that set his teeth on edge. "Private? There's no fence, no signs. This is a gift from the earth, not a cage. Besides, the county said it's unclaimed green space." Ethan's jaw tightened. "I've got the deed. It's claimed. By me." She waved a hand dismissively. "We'll see what the community thinks." The next morning, Ethan found the signs. Not cheap paper, one sturdy wooden planks nailed into his trees, painted with swirling vines, and the words "Serenity Hollow Trail, all welcome." Below that, in smaller print, guided by Miranda Voss contact for tours. A QR code linked to a website with a donation button for trail maintenance. His blood boiled. This wasn't just trespassing, it was a takeover. He ripped one down, the nails screeching against the bark, and stormed back to his house to call his lawyer, Tom Hargrove. Tom, a grizzled ex-Marine who'd handled every Caldwell land dispute since Ethan's dad's day, didn't mince words. "She's nuts," he said, voice crackling over the phone. "Trespassing, vandalism, fraud if she's collecting money. I'll draft a cease and desist by noon." Ethan sent him photos of the signs and a screenshot of Miranda's site, which boasted over 200 members in a group called Serenity Seekers. She'd been running these tours for weeks, posting pictures of strangers lounging on his granite outcrops, sipping kombucha by his creek, and stacking pebbles into harmony cairns. In every shot, Miranda posed like a woodland goddess, arms wide, eyes closed, a sunbeam conveniently highlighting her smug grin. Ethan didn't wait for the legal wheels to turn. He signed up for her group under the alias Jake Pinewood, using a burner email and a profile pic of a generic forest trail. The next event was a Harvest Moon walk that weekend, complete with guided meditation and cider sharing. He RSVP'd, pulled on a flannel shirt and a baseball cap, and showed up early, parking his truck a half-mile away to avoid suspicion. When he reached the meeting spot, his own damn meadow found a dozen people in a circle, barefoot on the frost-tipped grass, humming as Miranda led them in a grounding ritual. She wore a flowing shawl and waved a sage bundle, her voice syrupy. Feel the pulse of this ancient land. It's older than ownership, older than greed. Ethan bit back a snort. Ancient land? He felt a tree right there for firewood last winter. When the humming stopped, Miranda handed out hemp bags of trail, mix-labeled Earth's Bounty, and launched into her tour. She renamed his creek Whispering Waters and spun a tale about it being a sacred spring for a long-lost tribe. The ridge became Spirit Crest, a supposed site of celestial alignments. Ethan trailed behind, fists clenched, as she pointed to a gnarled pine he'd climbed as a kid and declared it a memory tree, radiating love. A woman with dreadlocks sighed dreamily. A guy in Birkenstocks strummed a guitar. When Miranda mused about adding a reflection deck near the ridge, Ethan nearly lost it. That was spitting distance from his hunting blind. Back home, he uploaded trail cam footage to Tom. Miranda stepping over a faded no trespassing sign, her dog peeing on a sapling, her group trampling wildflowers. She's escalating, he told Tom. She's got plans for a deck now. Tom chuckled darkly. Good. More evidence. We'll bury her in court. But Miranda struck first. The next day, Ethan woke to a sheriff's deputy at his door, a citation in hand. Got a complaint, the deputy said, scratching his beard. You're harassing a community group and obstructing public land use. Ethan invited him in, poured him coffee, and showed him the footage hours of Miranda's antics, from littering to tree carving. The deputy sighed. People think nature means free-for-all. I'll warn her, but she's stubborn. Watch yourself. Miranda didn't just ignore the warning, she doubled down. A post hit the local Facebook group, Greed vs. Green, one man's war on serenity. There was Ethan's grainy photo, snapped from afar, captioned, "This man is suing a nature lover for walking his woods. Nature isn't property, it's a right." Comments exploded. Someone called Ethan a land-hoarding tyrant. Another claimed he'd chased a hiker with a shotgun. Aaliyah hadn't touched his rifle in months. Hashtags like Save Serenity Hollow trended, and Miranda's donation page raked in cash for her legal fight. Then came the bombshell. Miranda filed a petition to rezone Ethan's land as a public preserve, citing an obscure ordinance about underutilized ecological assets. It was nonsense, but it had teeth enough to drag Ethan into a county hearing. He called in reinforcements. His old friend Roy Baxter, a retired surveyor with a limp and a vendetta against entitled newcomers. Roy arrived with a stack of maps, some so old they crackled, and a gleam in his eye. "Let's nail her," he growled. While Roy mapped every inch of the property, Ethan dug deeper into Miranda's past. A web search revealed she'd pulled similar stunts in Oregon, leading community hikes on private ranches until lawsuits drove her out. She'd reinvented herself here, banking on Ethan's quiet nature to let her steamroll him. He also filed for a conservation easement, locking his land under state protection. If Miranda wanted a fight, she'd get one with claws. The hearing was a circus. Miranda swept in with a petition boasting 600 signatures, a slideshow of smiling hikers, and a speech about healing spaces. Ethan countered with deeds, tax records, and Roy's maps, plus a damning photo. Miranda posing by his private property signed 2 years ago, captioned, "Wish I could explore this gem." The commissioners ruled in Ethan's favor, issuing Miranda a trespass ban. She stormed out, Flower Crown Askew. Victory was short-lived. Days later, Ethan heard chainsaws. He raced to the ridge and found Miranda directing a crew clearing brush for a temporary eco-shelter. She'd bribed a clerk for a vague permit, exploiting a loophole. Ethan called the sheriff, but Miranda's charm stalled them. That night, her retreat glowed with lanterns and echoed with flutes. Ethan seethed, then activated the easement. A state inspector arrived, documented the damage, and shut her down with fines and a cease order. Miranda's empire crumbled. Neighbors sued her for related scams. The HOA ousted her, and she fled town, leaving behind a trail of sage wrappers and painted rocks. Ethan's woods grew quiet again. He added a sign at the ridge, Caldwell Land Creek to crest. No exceptions. Below, in fine print, Miranda, find peace elsewhere. As he walked the trails, the silence felt like a hard-won prize one he'd guard with every breath. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this VY Deo with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next VY Deo.